My name is Taiwo Adelu, Nigerian correspondent for Alternative Africa, London. And these are my colleagues, Danjuma and
Welcome to the Kenya High Commission. My name is Ambassador Dr. Wilfred Machage, the Kenyan High Commissioner to the Federal Republic of Nigeria. With me are my senior staffs, starting with the lady, that's my administrative secretary. She's called Anne. We have the financial guru, chief accountant, he's called Vidinho. And I have the first secretary, also the PA to the High Commissioner, he's called Wario. Welcome to the High Commission.
It's a pleasure being with you this morning. Let's go straight to the business of the day because of our time. We want to really talk much about what really concerns us as a people, agriculture. And record shows that agriculture is the largest contributor to Kenya's gross domestic product. It accounts for about 34% of the GDP, as well as 18% of the wage employment and 45% of revenue from export. These are excellent rating compared to what is obtainable in some other African countries. Sir, can you tell us how Kenya has been able to achieve this? Then what is the government is doing to further improve on this record, sir?
Thank you very much, and thank you for your observation. Indeed, it is true that Kenya is really a backbone, agriculture is really a backbone in the economy of Kenya. And indeed, we have been able to catapult ourselves from the third world to the second world economy using agriculture, courtesy to good policies and the attitude, KAP of the people, the knowledge and attitude and practice of the people. We are fortunate that really even pre-independence, agriculture was quite well endowed by the colonialists. The British used Kenya as one of their big farming areas in their colonies. And we adapted and improved on what they had left at independence. It has just not happened. We have had to put effort. The school curriculum, in the syllabus, agriculture is quite emphasized, including having clubs in primary schools. We call them KK clubs. Small clubs or people actually having gardens and maturing those gardens to productivity, and even examinations at that level on farming. And having good policies on marketing so that the farmer can see the profit. And indeed, in Kenya, agriculture pays better than the white-collar jobs in government. So people are encouraged to go back to the farm. Apart from that, we have had all other institutions, the churches, apart from schools, all those institutions also emphasizing good nutrition, good farming, food independence, so that really Kenya, in most cases, is self-reliant in terms of feeding itself, which is quite good, and the regions around the country.
So I want to ask the other question is how is government going to improve on the existing record you are seeing?
We have had several initiatives by the government, one of which is offering extensive farm officers. You know, we have extension farm officers who are in the villages at the village level to teach farmers on not only production of the seedling, but all the way up to harvesting, monitoring of diseases and intervention at the right time on diseases. Number two, we have had subsidy in some inputs, especially fertilizer. Is one of our Vision 2030 programs, that fertilizer is subsidized so that the farm has fertilizer at nearly 1/3 the market price. Now that relieves the farmer on input to be able to improve the profit at harvest. Another thing is coming up with programs of harvesting, so that the farmer does not have his products wasted because of poor storage or no market. So we have the bodies like this Kenya Cereals Board, which has stores all over. So for instance, if we harvest maize, the government produces money to buy the products from the farmers so that they are not exploited by the middlemen, which is another problem. Farmer may produce, but he gets less. So the government also controls the pricing by controlling importation of products that are already being harvested in the country. That is very, very much keenly looked at by the Agricultural Ministry. So we are able to know that, okay, this time we have a deficit in our harvest, so we need this amount of food to be imported. This time we do not want any food to be imported, but we have enough surplus for export. And they fix a price, that this season's harvest, this will be the price. So if the farmer can get a higher price by selling it to some other, depending on the forces of demand and supply, that's not a problem. But that usually is a benchmark, that this price should not go below this price. And that encourages the farmer to, now that's on crops. We have also farming that extends to animal husbandry, dairy production. So we have the cooperative movement, which is very much established in Kenya. The cooperative movement, where farmers come together, they have very organized organizations which look for a communal market. Even a bank, we have cooperative banks that are able to give farmers loans at a reduced interest rate for not only production of the products, but also to encourage them to save and invest in other issues. So there are several steps that I've just mentioned, a few, that encourage the farmer to have proper production.
So, honestly, Nigeria is trying to do the same as you are just saying. But what do you think we can learn from Kenya in terms of this development?
There's a lot you can learn from it. First of all, you have to be decided whether really you want to go the Kenyan way. Nigeria is lucky to be endowed with other economic production activities like fuel. You see, Kenya is an agroeconomy, whereas Nigeria is a petro economy. But I'm happy to know that some areas of Nigeria, like the Osun state, I think have had to send benchmarking teams. I think I know of 2 groups which have already visited Kenya to go and understudy the practice of agriculture in Kenya. I have had an opportunity to be called even to give a lecture at Osogbo in Osun on how far Kenya has had in development of agriculture, and I think they pick it up. I believe 2 weeks ago was in Kano. Kano is also trying to come up with the same program like Osun. Kano are interested in production of seed for cotton production. And one of the things that Kenya is very well endowed is the research. We have very well established research institutions for production of seed appropriate for certain areas. So really, I told them, we don't have to sell to you the cotton seed that is good in Kenya. Instead, we'll give the technology. We'll send the technicians, the experts, to come and produce the variety of seed that is adapted to the Nigerian environment for proper production and maximum production from the type of soils you have.
Away from agriculture, another aspect of life that is very much rewarding in Kenya is tourism, and is the second largest source of foreign exchange revenues, following agriculture. Beach tourism, ecotourism, cultural tourism, and sport tourism are all part of tourism sectors in Kenya. This is to show that Kenya has a unique world-acclaimed tourism product. What is the secret?
The secret is really, again, the knowledge and attitude of the people. For most of the Kenyan communities, really, to be found just killing and eating game meat is not acceptable by culture. You don't just go to and kill game meat, game for meat. The cultural groups will accuse you, not even the government, for interfering. But apart from that, we have had a proper land consolidation since independence, such that Kenya is well mapped on what is to be used where. So you don't have people just moving around with their cattle and farming everywhere. We have areas that have been gazetted and designated as really game. And you find that really in Kenya, out of about an area of about 500,000 square kilometers, that is the Kenyan area, it's about half Nigeria, about 4,000 square kilometers, about 40,000 square kilometers is gazetted as a game reserve area by law. So you are not supposed to go and do your farming there or do your grazing there. That place is completely preserved for game. Apart from that, we have had institutions of higher learning that concentrate on game management as a degree or diploma. We have also hospitality industry. We have very well-established hospitality colleges. And I'm proud to say that most of the hotels, even in West Africa, if you want to go to a good hotel, go to a hotel that is managed by a Kenyan, because we have very well-established hospitality industry, hotels that teach and bring up managers, accountants, chefs that are really designed for that kind of. Then there's advertisement, good climate that we are lucky God has given us in Kenya, that again favors some of these animals to be able to live. And indeed in Kenya we get a whole range of animals, all the great five and others in their natural habitat. Not forget the eighth wonder of the world, the wildebeest migration. You find it in Kenya. It's a spectacular thing to watch, very spectacular. Yes.
That's great. Let me quickly, in our cases of murder and terrorist attack in 2013, 2014, and this then had an adverse effect on tourism in Kenya. So what is the government doing to really guide against this, to make sure that tourists are safe in the country?
Indeed, that's a big issue and is of international concern. And unfortunately, we have international communities, Britain, America, and the others, always coming up as holier than thou, giving traveling adversaries when we know terrorism is everywhere. Actually, they have lost more than Kenya. It has really affected Kenya, some regions in Kenya, especially if you look at the ecotourism in the northern side of Kenya, Lamu. We have very good beaches towards the Somali boundary, and cultural tourism especially, and the Swahili culture has been affected by the too much banditry due to terrorism in some of these regions. But Kenya has taken up boldly. We have special forces, specially trained police forces that are continuously monitoring and aborting a lot of plans. Actually, you would say we are proud. We have been able to manage them. Kenya is safe, very safe, apart from the few incidences you have mentioned. We have had nothing. And let me tell you, the press in Kenya is very liberal. Very liberal. There's nothing like hiding anything. You'd have had it over the press. But it's a well-controlled thing. But we pray that Africa unites, because terrorists are your brothers and sisters. They are fellow Africans. I mean, what is the problem? Why kill innocent people? Okay, if there is a political issue, why can't it be tackled politically instead of maiming and killing innocent citizens and visitors and interfering with the economy. That's not the way to go. Dialogue, the round table is very important. Very important. So we call upon Nigeria, which is equally hit by terrorists, to join hands. We have Al-Shabaab in Kenya, we have Boko Haram here. They're all associated with NIS, they're all ISIS, they all come together somehow, trying to catapult the existence or the world to know that they exist. But they are our people. Talk to them. Yes? Those people who live with terrorism, ask them, why do you go at night? Yeah? How do you live? How do you survive? Yes? Tell them, no. The religion, I believe Islam, which is mostly associated with the Al-Shabaab, Boko Haram, I don't think the teaching of Islam is terrorism. I believe the Quran preaches peace. So what is their doctrine? They hinge on extremism of Islam, which is totally untrue. So really, they are just criminals. They should be arrested and jailed. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Let's away from tourism now. Let's go into economy. Of recent, not quite a few days ago, the African Union concerning the single currency. What is the position of Kenya on Africa's single trade agreement as a high-ranking officer of the country?
Indeed, we have to accept one fact that the pioneers of this is Kenya and Ghana. His Excellency, the President, actually, was the first to sign this agreement in Rwanda, Kigali, and led the way for Africa, and I think all of Africa now has signed. That's the way to go. We have not been able to use our population well as Africa, as a resource, because of the over-division of Africa into many small states, Anglophone, Francophone, and what phone, and bad indoctrination that we are different people. We are one people. And this was very much well seen by Kwame Nkrumah and Kenyatta, Jomo Kenyatta. Those days, the Pan-Africans, Jomo Kenyatta, Kwame Nkrumah, Julius Nyerere, they saw this, and that was the way to go. That's what they taught us, but we got lost somewhere. The population of Africa is a resource that is now even feared by the Europeans and other countries. If you look at Nigeria alone, a population of 200 million, about 200 million, is equal to the population of Kenya, plus Tanzania, plus Uganda, plus Rwanda, plus Burundi. Okay. 5 countries fit in the population of Nigeria alone. Now, if you look at the other populations around Nigeria, why should Nigeria have problems on where to export its products? Why should gas go into waste? In Nigeria, when you're mining your fuel, you leave it to burn off. When Benin, Burkina Faso, and even Kenya is in need of gas. Why can't we come together and open up the Bangui-Lagos road? A very short road that will reach Kenya with a good pipeline to give this resource we are wasting. So really what we have not been able to do is to come together and work together. Monetary union would be quite an advantage. You can see what is going on in Europe. Britain has tried to pull out. It's not possible. They are waking up from their slumber. They are seeing all of a sudden what they are trying to is a mistake. Whereas for us, Africa will be told, no. The French should use the CFR, yes, You should not trade with other nations. Right now, to go to Equatorial Guinea, I was going, 2 months I went to Equatorial, you have to go through Addis Ababa, a distance of only 1 or 2 hours, direct flight from Abuja. I have to go through Addis Ababa to go to Equatorial Guinea because of these over-fragmentation and funny policies. Then how much resource have you wasted in that kind of trouble? Okay. The other day I was to go to Sierra Leone. I have to go to Ghana, then Togo, then to Sierra Leone. Why not go straight from Abuja to Sierra Leone? Now the irony is that I was going to Sierra Leone from Liberia. I had to go back to Ghana, then flight over to Sierra Leone. Really, now what is happening? We waste a lot of resources, a lot of time for issues of poor planning and really not sitting down and saying, where is the problem? I believe we can utilize our population well.
That takes us to the issue of African integrations, the adoption of Kiswahili as African common language. What is your opinion about this integration in Africa and the adoption of this Swahili as a lingua franca?
It is too late. We should have done it yesterday. Swahili right now is spoken in how many countries? It's spoken in Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda, Rwanda, Burundi, Eastern Congo, Malawi, Northern Mozambique, Comoros, Southern Somalia, Southern Ethiopia. It's already covering half of Africa. And yet we have to struggle to speak French and English. Neocolonization. We were taught ours is bad, theirs is good. We have our own language. Language is very important in unification of a country. Look at Tanzania in East Africa. They adopted Swahili very keenly at independence. In Tanzania, you don't hear somebody say, I'm a Yoruba, I'm Igbo. They have no tribes. Okay? They are nationalists. They say, why do you come? I'm a Tanzanian. He may say, okay, from this region, but he will not say from this tribe, because the language has unified them. And I believe Swahili can unify Africa.
What is the state of trade relationship between Kenya and Nigeria? The strengths and areas?
It is unfortunate, really. It's really unfortunate that we have so little trade between Kenya and Nigeria. The two actually big economies of Africa. Apart from having products that can sell well, if you look at the statistics of 2015, we had about $36.5 million export from Kenya to Nigeria, but only $2.05 million worth products export from Nigeria to Kenya. Okay, the trade is in favor of Kenya, but that's so little. It's so little for major economies of Africa. So really, there is a lot desired on inter-African country trade. We are wasting. If you look at China, China does not need any other world for their products. They themselves are enough market for what they produce. You look at India. The Indian subcontinent does not need you. They are able to produce and buy their own products to the satisfaction of their economy. But they have had to subdivide us here so that we say, okay, we are Francophone, we are from where? And then we waste that sometimes back. And because of the same forces, it was shelved. They instead want us to get rebuild things that have already been manufactured. And they say, oh, you're producing a car. You're not producing anything. Okay? We have the technology now. We have Africans who are able to produce this, but no, African is bad. We better wake up.
That means, what best practices do you think Nigeria can learn from Kenya in politics, economy, and other spheres of life?
That's an interesting question. I've been here for only 9 months. I may not want to go into that. Let me study. I'll answer it maybe tomorrow. Yes.
Okay. Then can you appraise the independence Republic of Kenya since 1964 and now?
Really, that's a serious question, but knowing that at independence, really, Kenyan population was about 7 million. We are now at a population of about 45 million. We have had major development programs. We have built our roads, infrastructure, electricity, telecommunication, and we have had good leadership generally, I would say, in Kenya to be able to realize what has happened. We have hit a big step okay, we have lots of also burning problems, but I think we are on the right route, especially with the current able leadership of His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta. He's determined to make sure that Kenya is properly developed in infrastructure and education. Right now, Kenya, we can say we are the brain basket right now in Africa. We have a lot of educated people. We are able to export technology now, brain power to our neighbors to be able to really teach in universities, technology, technicians, and what have you. So if the markets are open and we share some of these resources, Nigeria has its own advantages, one or two things. Nigeria right now has been in the petrol industry for some time. We can learn both mistakes and advantages on the gains over these years that Nigeria has handled the petrol economy, because we have just discovered also that we have some petrol in Kenya. So there are lots of things we can learn. Nigeria, I admire Nigeria for one thing, they are tolerant. You have a tolerant population. And I saw this because I was here during the election. Okay? When the elections were postponed at midnight before the election, and Nigerians accepted it quite calmly, and that you deserve praise for that kind of level of maturity. Let me tell you, in my country it would have been war. It would have been a lot of demonstrations. So really, those are some of the things that I appreciate. The level of sovereignty with the Nigerians on that tolerance is important. Is important.
At least we have more or less answered the next questions, because I just want to ask that what are those positive Kenya can learn from Nigeria?
Oh, thank you. There are many. There are many.
Yeah, and lastly,
yes.
you are politicians and equally medical doctors. So how you really manage it?
Oh, good question. But if I tell you that really to be able to study medicine, you have to be good across the board. Because really in Kenya and in many other countries, you have to be an A student to study medicine. And to be an A student, it means you are good nearly in everything. And also really education as it is in the African context, it does not mean you show all your potential just because you passed a certain exam. I'm sure there are so many things you could do, but you have been compelled by the education system to think that you are only a journalist. You're not. Just open your mind, you'll be able to do leadership, you'll be able to do diplomacy like me. Thank you.
What will you be able to be a farmer too?
I'm a big farmer. I can attest to that. You come to Kenya, I'll take you to my farm. I'm a big farmer. Every Kenyan. Actually, let me say this. Open up in West Africa, open up your land, let Kenyans come and do the practice here. Okay? Give us the peace, and we come and start our ranching and do demonstration farms in Nigeria. It will be even better if you can learn practically by having Kenyans open up farms in Nigeria. And we see that really farming is far much better than even petroleum industry. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm so much grateful for giving your time.
Thank you.
And on behalf of my colleagues, I say thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
I'm in prison.